Hmm? What's up, Jacko? Jack.
Over the last 3 decades, there have been 20 conservative budgets introduced into this House. I'm wondering if the member knows how many of those 20 conservative budgets actually were balanced or ran a surplus. The reason why I ask is because when he decides that the answer is only 3, he must know that there's a reason for that. Both Brian Mulroney and Stephen Harper, 20 budgets introduced into this House, only 3 ran a surplus or were balanced. Why is that? It's 3 more budgets than the Liberals have ever delivered. The simple fact, Madam Speaker, is that whenever Conservatives get in, they tend to clean up the mess from the previous government. Conservatives are going to do that. We look forward to many balanced budgets in the future. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Over the last 3 decades,
Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 4 Absolute Doom is here, and so far it has been an absolute blast. Happy Thanksgiving again. Earlier today I made a video saying that, hey, the RCMP has actually taken action. Canada! Death is a necessary part of life. If we didn't die, we would have no need to procreate, no need for a next generation, no need to pass ideas down, no desire to improve on those ideas, no need to even evolve as a species. But just because something is necessary doesn't mean it doesn't suck. I went to California last week for the first time, but it wasn't for a vacation, it was for a funeral. It was to be there for people who I love dearly, to comfort them for the loss of somebody who died far too. There were people at the funeral trying to spin it and say that it was all part of God's plan, and that they were here on a mission.
we're on a mission from God.
That God had a certain design for them to be here for a while, and then took them back to be with Him because their mission was up. But there's no way to make something like that into a good thing. There's no spin zone for death.
I'm not the Blues Brothers.
They died too soon, with way too much life left to live. I was at a young adult church retreat in the mid-2000s.
My favorite is We'll Pray For You.
One of my youth
Because, like, every time I first want to say that to another person, it's just like, yeah, but that's not really going to help right now.
15 years ago
I think,
next week, I was at
like, the last
work
person
and I got
the
a text
person wants
message
to, like,
that my
hear.
close friend had died from complications from swine flu. I've talked
What?
about it here, but the pain of losing both my parents to cancer. Anybody who has lost anyone knows that it can be the most painful experience of their lives. We only got one shot at this light, and to have that candle snuffed out too soon is devastating to those around us. But every once in a while, there are people who take certain actions that end the life of a human being, either for greed, for hate, for envy, rage, to make a statement, or because they wanted to feel powerful, or whatever reason they have. And we all know that purposely causing that much pain in so many people's lives is wrong. We know that ending a life early, ending that one shot they had at this life, for this person's own gain or own petty reason, is so
That's why we fucking took the death penalty. It's like not moral. You don't get to say who doesn't die.
This is wrong. I'm not a thug, I'm police. Okay, then name one law. Don't kill people. Murder is wrong. That's why all religions, all societies pretty much have laws forbidding murder, and even atheists think it's wrong to murder.
What?
Isn't that interesting to think about? Like atheists, like I don't believe in God, I don't believe the Bible, I definitely don't believe the Ten Commandments. And yet if you ask an atheist, what do you think murder is wrong?
Oh yeah, no shit, asshole!
Of course. Well, why? Why do you think it's wrong if you don't believe in God or the Bible? That's a good question.
Because I'm a human being with human
by God.
Oh my God! Fuck you!
They were made by God. The thumbprint of God is on all of our souls. And even though atheists don't believe in God,
Fucking
they're
douchebag.
made like God. And that's true for all of us. So you know it's wrong to murder even if you've never been to church or read the Bible before, because you were made by God and like God. We don't need a God to tell us that murder is wrong.
Right?
We don't need a great spiritual purpose to understand that death.
Just don't rape, kill people. Didn't think we had to clear that up. Like, and here we are. But then there's like all these people who are like, oh, if it weren't for religion, I would just do bad things. It's like, really? Like, yeah, but that's what they think. Like, people will like fucking literally rape the shit out of each other, do horrible things to each other if it wasn't for Jesus. It's like, yeah, but religion doesn't do that. Religion doesn't work that way. Like, why are you constantly thinking of doing bad things to people? It's fucked up.
And despite the fact that we hear over and over again that the 10 Commandments are the basis for all laws, we have finally gotten to one that actually describes a crime in those countries. That's just the worst. Well, what about murders? Murder is bad too, but at least it's not pooping outside like some kind of psycho. The most basic, easy to understand crime of all the crimes. Like a, well, duh, of course that's a rule, kind of rule.
Guys, it's me again, Douglas, and today we're going to be talking about the
I hate
sixth
this
commandment, which is you shall not murder.
It's not kill.
Today we go with the sixth commandment, which at first glance seems like an easy one to obey. Exodus chapter 20, verse 13. You shall not murder. No, of course they can't.
Thou shalt not kill.
If we make it easy, we can't make people feel guilty. And if we can't make people feel guilty, then we can't dictate how they act. Exodus 20, verse 13 says, you shall not murder. I know someone right now, you're like, phew, finally one that is not going to be convincing to me. Never done murder. Check. I'm off the hook this week. At first glance, but don't worry, we'll get ya. We can't just not let you feel guilty. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. It's what I thought when I began studying this message. Phew. At least this is one commandment I haven't broken. Well, okay. Figured that one out. But, I felt like I was in pretty good shape until I started studying the implications this has for all of us. There's more than one way to take a person's life, as we'll see in just a moment. So murder is a demonic issue. God makes life, and Satan takes life. Satan loves it when people are put to death wrongly or prematurely and unjustly. Jesus says, in the beginning, the Father made us, and in the beginning, Satan was a murderer. Every murder ever committed possesses the heart of the devil. People that are caught up in murder, people that have committed murder, people that fantasize about murder or celebrate the murder of others are caught in the clutches and the mind of Satan himself because he is a murderer. Some would say that creating something knowing full well that it would kill a bunch of people and then allowing that thing into the world makes them just as much a murderer as the thing doing the murdering. Even worse. Especially when you could at any point stop that thing.
He told what's his face to throw his baby into the fucking volcano, no?
That Satan never did.
Yeah.
One of those days where technology just doesn't seem to be your friend. You go to do laundry and
Noah?
all the washing machines stop working, or you go to export a file.
Abraham.
For whatever reason, it's not working. And then you go to cross the street and the button won't work to make it so you'll cross the street and it just waits forever. That can be so frustrating. But you know what does work seamlessly every time? It doesn't cause that kind of fuss. Recons every day. You guys know I was traveling recently me, and I always have music on the go. And one of the things I love about these Raycons is that the battery life is so 32 hours. Also, active noise cancellation, which when you need to get away from it all and you need to shut it all out, that
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
you're someone like me that has anxiety and sometimes just
Apparently,
shut it
people
all
with ADHD are doing that now.
Active noise cancellation.
They have noise canceling stuff. So when they're anxious, they literally just put their headphones on. I was like, I kind of don't approve of that. Like, I don't think you should just be like able to like be out and just be like, I'm opting out of like society for this moment, even though I'm physically in society. They just have to learn how to deal with those feelings.
Protective cover off to get 90 minutes of battery life in just 10 minutes of charging. I listen to podcasts when I go grocery shopping, and one of the most annoying things is when you're walking home with all the grocery bags and you have those other earbuds that you lean and they fall out of your ear. This doesn't happen with these. They're gonna stay in your ear. It's very nice. You don't have to put all your groceries down, try to find where it landed. It's gonna stay in your ear. So go to buyraycon.com/or-not today to get 20 to 50% off.
That's why like the bus is so quiet. Everyone has headphones in.
Up to 50% off.
So awkward.
Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/or-not.
And even though it's a public space, people think you're in the library.
Right? And I'm just kind of like, it's the bus. Like, no, the last time I went to Point Village, the people were like walking around in silence with their fucking ice cream cones. I was like, this is terrifying. It's like kids with a corn.
Certaines choses ont l'air ambitieuses. Mais faut pas se fier aux apparences. Ces coureurs-là ont l'air de s'entraîner pour un marathon. C'est son cas à elle. Mais lui, c'est son parcours qui vient juste d'inspirer. Cette femme-là, on dirait qu'elle pense à relax. Mais elle s'entraîne pour devenir pilote de chasse. L'ambition, ça se vient en temps. Ça nous appartient. Personne ne peut plus l'enlever. Alors, cette affaire-là qui te fait triper?
Just stab his fucking mouth.
As we continue our sermon series on the Ten Commandments, with this simple statement, thou shalt do no murder. Say it with me. Thou shalt do no murder.
Thou shalt not kill. If thou shalt not kill.
In this audience. Yet the sixth commandment has volumes to say to America and to the church. Society will forgive an atheist. They'll forgive an idolater, a Sabbath breaker.
What? People will forgive
An adulterer?
But atheists eat babies.
Somebody that
Fun fact.
But atheists eat babies.
Photographer.
They'll forgive someone
That's
dishonoring
funny.
their parents, a thief, a liar. But when you kill another person with malice aforethought, you have committed one of the great evils. Why?
Because people love them and you will cause enormous pain. Because we only get one shot at this life.
What a chance, bro. It's opportunity for a lifetime, yo.
That means that someone has the right to murder me. And since I don't want to be murdered, maybe it's better that nobody should murder anyone.
Because man has been created in the image of God. An attack against another person is literally considered from heaven a direct attack on God himself.
You don't need to make up a secondary spiritual reason to justify why murder is bad. It's easy to understand why murder is bad. It's one of the most basic things that we can understand.
We're made in God's image and likeness.
And so, because we're talking about murder, the most wicked and evil thing imaginable would be trying
English.
to
Do you
murder
speak it?
God or those made in God's image.
Murder is not just a civic social issue. It's a God issue. It's an offense not just against the person, but it's an offense against God who made them in his image and likeness. So when you murder a person, you're also declaring war on God because you're attacking the person who bears the image that he bestowed on them.
It's not bad to kill a person because that person is like another thing. It's bad to kill a person because you shouldn't kill a person. You don't need to assign it a secondary value. People love that person. That person wanted to still be alive.
Oh wow.
Guess it's their time to murder is to destroy an original masterpiece of God. Not only that, but God created man for relationship with Him. When you murder, you end a life intended for relationship with God. That's why God said, "You shall not murder."
No, not if they were saved, right? You're just sending them right to God. It's also very telling that in all the stories I watched, it was never about the impact death had on people. It was always this type of reasoning. It's a rule for God, reasons so we shouldn't do it. Thus, removing the humanity of why we shouldn't do it, and removing any form of empathy. But no, I don't think you need to believe in a God to understand why murder is wrong, why death is sad.
Strange notion, murder. Thou shalt not kill. There's a difference between killing and murder. In the Bible, killing is not always a crime.
What? See, I told you. It's thou shalt not kill, not thou shalt not murder. Idiot.
You shall not translated into English. Now that I'm wrong. This is the best translated book in the history of the world.
What?
It's actually two words. The first word, not related. My entire sermon will be on the second word. It's not too far. Killing is wrong and bad. There should be a stronger word for killing, like bedroom or badong.
Badong.
I'm going to give it to you in Hebrew, because the Hebrew word is somewhat controversial. So there are 7 Hebrew words for killing.
But you guys don't like the Jews. You guys keep always accuse them of writing the Bible wrong.
So low is don't, or do not. It's no, low is no. And eretzoth is really to murder. And so people get caught up with this as well. It says thou shalt not kill. Well, really the intent is murder. In some translations, it says you shall not kill. And that's not technically incorrect. But murder is the truer understanding of what is being forbidden here. All murder is killing, but not all killing
It's murder. Yeah, okay.
Most of the pastors were very clear that no matter what, you honor your father and mother. There is no exception clause. There is no fine print. They were very clear that even if your parents were toxic, even if they were abusive, you still had to honor them no matter what. But here we are now splitting hairs on what it really means to murder someone and what form of taking human life is acceptable.
Ah.
You should never defend yourself. You should show extreme pacifism. And if someone breaks into your home, you should feel them or your family.
Yeah, okay.
Those kinds of things that you mentioned, a lot of misunderstanding of the Bible. God is not a pacifist. The Bible does not present God as a pacifist.
What the fuck? But up until now, you've been saying something else. You've been saying it's thou shalt not kill up until now. But now you guys want your guns because your freedoms. And God believes in the First Amendment rights.
Is it wrong to steal a loaf of bread to feed your starving friends? No. Well, suppose you got a lot of stuff. Is it wrong to steal a truckload of bread to feed them?
Nope.
And what if your family don't like bread? They like cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Now, what if instead of giving them away, you sold them at a price that was practically giving them away? Would that be a crime, Bob? Or when it's justifiable to lie, like if you were hiding someone from the Nazis. And yes, you can
Instead of just admitting that, of course, there are gray areas, you have to spend a portion of your sermon on definitions. That way, the rules are set in stone. But the thing is, evangelicals love them some war.
Nations have often been involved in war to protect themselves, other weaker nations from evil dictators, deranged leaders like Hitler, Mussolini, Saddam Hussein. The taking in life of a life in just war is different than murder. There's another form of sanctioned killing, and that is a just war.
And I'm not saying that there aren't maybe.
Yeah, but I think you guys are starting to lose your
I'm not saying there are
storyline here.
reasons to
Like,
engage in conflict. But that
and you know what? Like that Santa Claus thing, that's where you guys fucked up.
War
Because if you guys didn't push like the whole like Santa Claus and presents thing, people would have gone on with it a lot longer.
Sometimes as a soldier you have to take someone's life, but not all killing is murder. Generally speaking, if you're deployed in war, it's a just war.
Oh wow.
Life,
that's the book I'm reading!
In God's eyes. There are people who commit murders in war zones.
No war is just. No murder is justified. You have no, if you really do believe that only God is your judgment, then you have no right to say that you have right to take another person's life just because you think that they did bad things. So you guys just fucking like shot yourself in the foot.
The soldier pointing his gun at you isn't an evil clone of the dictator, isn't a mindless drone. It's usually someone with a family, with people who love them.
That are being told lies.
If they don't come home. People who will experience the same pain.
And they get on the battlefield and they realize that this is exactly what I was told it would be. We've done that for everyone. That's why you guys target dummies that drop out of high school.
Just war and justified killing. But when we do that, we don't do what we need to do to stop these things from happening over and over and over again. We allow our governments
because we want our nice things.
Invasions into nations.
We want our multiple devices. We want our electric cars. Like,
slaughter of innocent people because some other people.
And you know what? The Western world, we had a good run. It's been like 150 years or so. But that's a consequence that was been made very clear that you guys are overindulging. You guys fucking can't stop buying shit that you don't need. You throw in the garbage. You make a bunch of fucking garbage barges in oceans and shit. If you know it's gonna fucking like.
People are literally changing their lives, changing the futures, and we can replicate it. That's science.
Science shit.
Really about brain coherence and heart coherence. Where you practice it, your brain experiences are changing. And now you start to call energy back to you. You start building your own electromagnetic field. Now you have energy. Now you have energy to create a future. You learn to change the state of things.
Some question that comes up practically, what about war? Does the state, does a government, does a nation ever have a right to go to war? Yes or no? Yes. You see this in the Old Testament, and I'm not saying we're theocratic Israel, but there were occasions where God's people go to war, and there were even war heroes in the Bible like King David. He's celebrated for his ability to kill a lot of men. Now, historically, studying the scriptures in their totality, not proof texting, biblical Christian theologians have come up with something called the concept of just war.
Every decision to go.
That's the book I'm reading. Just and unjust wars. And they start off by saying, like, this is the second version that he wrote. And they start off, even in the prologue, they're like, there is no just wars. Because just wars only benefit one type of, like, the whole war entirely only benefits the rich upper class. You don't see rich people going to join the army. And they're all the same people, the bumper stickers, fucking support our troops and shit.
Progressive far left, if you don't find a little irony in blowing the balls off of terrorists and jihadists who think that if they die a martyr, they get to go get an eternity.
Yeah, what's the difference?
Out there
Do you
Yeah.
think that the IAF is anything but evil at this
terrorism
point?
organization.
It's already an indicator that this guy
They're
has
most of
no
them are
idea what's
incels.
happening. But
Like,
then to be so callous about something like this, something intended to kill, harm, and maim, something that killed children.
yeah,
Even if he thought it was justified.
yeah, elder shit. Like, there's no justified excuse for killing children.
Such clean.
Like, I don't even have like an extension of my argument. Killing children done.
As terrorists and jihadists, you strip away their humanity. You make it easier to kill.
I love you.
Killing is allowed in the Bible. Exodus 22, verse 2 says that if somebody breaks into your house at night and threatens your life, you have a right to take their life. When we talk about the same,
Did you just say that, really?
it's not just life, when all life is sacred. If somebody is threatening your life or the life of a loved one, you have the right
Was there abortion back then?
to their life as well. Self-defense is not murder. Self-defense is not murder. We live in Arizona. We got a lot of gun owners. Maybe you're wondering, is it okay for me to have a gun for self-defense?
No one should have a gun, not even the police.
I'm supposed to love people. But, you know, at the same time, there's a lot of bad people out there who might threaten me or my family. Like, is it okay if I have a gun for self-defense, or should I just throw Bibles at them? You know, they're... The power of Christ compels you. Stop. To defend yourself and your family, because your life is also valuable. When someone tries to unjustly take
Up until a certain point, though. Like,
forfeit the right to their life.
is that really like the rules?
But also in the eyes of God.
Of course, it's okay to defend yourself. I'm not going to argue with that. But the problem, again, is that we continue to strip humanity away. Yes, it can be justified, but it should always be heavy. It should always be a heavy decision. What has happened, they think they get to kill people without consequences. They see killing people as
Necessary, yeah.
choice. So we end up with Trayvon Martin's. Someone that has been found not guilty in the murder of Trayvon Martin.
But it breaks even more to know that we have not gotten justice yet.
The jury of 6 white women called it
Ah!
justified. They said it said more about us than it said about the man who pulled the trigger.
It looks like he shot them and it looks black.
What?
Bio Sundays look like it. Trayvon's death marks an inflection point for our country's first black president, and for everyday people trying to divorce themselves from America's racist past and present.
There's someone screaming outside.
With Ahmed Arbery, Travis McMichael and his father Greg, a former police officer, are charged with murdering 25-year-old Ahmaud
Yeah.
Arbery, seen here being killed in the
Yeah,
street.
because they think they're
February
vigilantes.
23rd in Brunswick, Georgia.
They saw a black guy running, and they shot
They
him.
thought the young man was, quote, the suspect from the break-ins, and after seeing him here, 2 doors down, walking around the open construction site, they tried to make a citizen's arrest. So
And they shot him.
so many more.
There was a 10-year-old with a toy gun from the dollar store, and he took the orange cap off the tip of it. So this fucking hillbilly fucking saw an 8-year-old with a gun, and he shot him. He goes, "Well, I thought I was saving the neighborhood." Like, what the fuck?
Handicapped parking space. That's when Draco pulled out a gun. According to the charging document, McLaughlin immediately backed up when he saw the weapon and turned towards the store. As he turns away from Michael Draco fires 1 shot. McLaughlin was hit in the chest and ran into the store, collapsing in front of his 5-year-old son. He did not have a weapon.
An Ocala family is calling for justice this morning after a mother of 4 was allegedly shot through a door. Neighbor Ajuka Owens was shot Friday night after an incident in which both the family and the sheriff says they believe a pair of skates were thrown by a neighbor, ultimately hitting one of Owens' children.
Oh my god!
Over and knocked on that neighbor's door. That's when she was shot. Owens' mother, Pamela Diaz, says the neighbor that shot her daughter had a history with Owens' kids.
Harass the children in the neighborhood. Harass Chappelle Chantrell owns 4 babies. Authorities say 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis of Schuylerville was with 3 friends in a car trying to find a friend's house Saturday night, but it was dark with no cell service in a very rural area, and they made a mistake and drove up the wrong driveway on Patterson Hill Road in Hebron, but quickly realized they were at the wrong place.
So
for trespassing.
basically looking for their friend's house and got
lost.
drove up this driveway.
And they drove up the wrong driveway. And then the person got shot.
Once they determined that they were at the wrong house, the subject came out on his porch for whatever reason and fired 2 shots
Out of car.
struck the vehicle that Caitlin was in.
She was fatally injured.
We get state after state promoting stand your ground laws instead of working to make sure that nobody else dies.
Stand your ground statutes are controversial, and more than half the country has one of those statutes in place. I spoke to experts about the laws and why researchers say they have different implications for people of color.
Wow.
In this
That's coming from a black lady reporter.
Young people made a mistake. The case is bringing renewed focus to stand your ground laws.
It's one of the most appropriate pieces of legislation I've ever seen in my life. It's a personal attack on me. It's a personal attack on people who look like me. I try to think of words to describe it, and the only word I can come up in my mind is this bill is complete bull.
That was phenomenal. So he's like a black guy with a suit sitting in court. And you just, this is just, the only thing I can think of is this bullshit. Well said.
All 3 men claimed self-defense during their trials for the murder of innocent people, many of them black men, or in Zimmerman's case, a teenager.
Wow.
The bill being debated in Missouri would not only call those murders justified, it would prohibit police from even detaining those suspected of violence, as long as they claim self-defense. What's being done by opponents as the Make Murder Legal Act is an existing self-defense law in the state by putting the burden of proof on prosecutors to disprove self-defense claims, something very difficult to do in cases where the only witness to a heinous crime could be the person who was killed.
Of course, there are times when you have to defend yourself, and maybe killing someone is the only way to survive a situation or for your family.
Yeah, but everyone's scared shitless because all the fucking crazy shit they say in the news. That they don't know if it's even true yet. Like, they accuse our fucking landlord of being a murderer. They don't even know how many people are fucking hurt or dead yet. Like, you guys scare the shit out of people. Saying that leave your keys at your front door in case your house gets robbed. Because they just want your, like, all that shit that makes people fucking scared.
You did have to take someone's life in self-defense or to protect someone else that they love. And that can't be a good feeling. And I hope that they can get the help that they need and that they can heal. I'm also sure that none of those people feel like it was a good situation and feel as though they got to do it.
Well, when can I kill people?
Yeah, but some people do. Like, same with fighting. There are some people that are looking for a fight, and they're trying to instigate someone to throw the first punch so they can have a fight.
And we're going to handle this in the debrief, and I'm going to handle all of your questions. Because there are sometimes biblically where you have the right to take life, and one of those universally is to protect life.
When God orders people to defend certain groups of people, to defend the innocent, to defend against evil, to defend against wicked invaders, He orders that happen. He still does today. The cops among us are a minister of God to us for good. If we do evil, be afraid of them. I can live with that. It's much nicer to be on the other side. Let's talk about the cops. A legally justified police shooting is not murder. No, this is
It is, though.
Probably bad intentions, but I've seen situations, I've seen video where a criminal is resisting arrest or grabs for a cop's gun or pulls out his own weapon to attack the police officer and gets shot. That would be a legally justified killing.
When you come up behind someone with 6 guys coming up behind them and you jump on their back and attack them, yeah, they might resist a little bit.
Majority of times when a criminal
When you're putting someone's face into the ground, yeah, might get a bit of pullback.
We just gotta be clear about that. Not all killing is murder.
If there was an organization that protected people from harm and that served the community and served everyone equally, regardless of race or social class, there might be an argument to be made about times.
But that's not the case.
to protect the community or to protect themselves. But that's
No longer like a one-off.
A bunch of people who are just ready to fire their guns, whether it's an acorn falling.
Tonight, brand new
What?
camera video showing the moment an already padded down and handcuffed man was pulled out of a bullet-riddled patrol car. All this in Okaloosa County.
Yeah, but he was in that patrol car when a deputy mistook a falling acorn for a gunshot. That's making another deputy blistered by the vehicle with gunfire. And a handcuffed Marquise Jackson still in the backseat. It's a miracle he wasn't hit.
Or when someone didn't pay their $2.90 transit fare.
Oh my god, that's the best. And the STM cops, there's like a video of a guy who was bouncing, he bounced a soccer ball in the metro, and the STM cops are trying to grab him, and he's backing up, and he fucking trips, and his head will fall through the metro. The fucking cart, like the metro cart literally just started rolling in, and his head was like right where the metro is. I was like, oh my god, you guys literally almost fucking killed that guy over a ball.
Fired at Massey did not turn on his body-worn camera until after the shooting, which means that for between them and this mother of two, we only have one camera angle to analyze.
What happened to him right there? They tried to like blank her face.
It all went wrong in under 30 seconds from the moment when Sonia Massey walked over to her kitchen stove until she lay dying on the floor, shot in the face by Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson.
Wait, you're hot seeing water.
Away from the hot seeing water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you in the name of the
That's right now. She traded face.
What the fuck?
Or when they see a dog, and that dog is, what, too adorable?
Police officer to
No.
open fire on a cute little dog.
No.
Body cam footage shows the officer walking to the fluffy white Shih Tzu named Teddy after responding
No.
to a call
No.
about an injured dog. At first, he sounds as nice as can be.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. There you go.
He's trying to get a lasso around the dog's neck,
We'll get to get your help.
but the officer can't seem to get the device to work. He's also not aware that the dog is blind and deaf. 3 minutes later, the officer
Oh my-
suddenly locks his gun.
Oh my god.
And won't do anything when children are getting murdered.
And we know that during the hour they were standing out there,
What
that
the
shots were
fuck?
fired. So it is. I want to read some of the reporting about some of the families. Javier Cazares, a father whose 9-year-old daughter was killed in the massacre, said that officials have been misrepresenting the response of law enforcement during the shooting at Robb Elementary. Quote, they said they rushed in and all that. We didn't see that, said Mr. Cazares, who was outside the school during the attack and heard gunshots. He saw police officers evacuating children, but grew angry, he said, when he did not see officers enter the school immediately. Quote, there were plenty of men out there
To go find him? No shit.
They could have gone in faster. This could have been over in a couple of minutes.
Being a police officer has never been about protecting the people. It's always been about power and protecting the wealthy.
Oh yeah.
Yes, there have been good cops,
Nope.
but the
All
good
cops
ones
are
don't make
bastards.
it.
Only good cop is a dead cop.
Capital punishment. Does the state
Because at the end of the
have
day,
right
even
to
if they are like
according
good,
to the teaching of the Bible,
trying to be good people, at the end of the day, if it comes down to you
yes or no?
being honest and them doing the right thing, saying like it was one of the coworkers that fucked up, they're not taking your side. They're taking their fucking coworker's side.
Do you think
Like-
people didn't understand the assignment?
Like they don't give a shit. They'll throw you under the bus. They don't fucking care.
Yes or no question. Like, do you want to go to the park or no? Do you want to go to the park? Is already a yes or no question. We don't need the or no at the end.
There are over 24 in the Old Testament occasions on which capital punishment was sanctioned by God.
Yes,
What?
the Bible says that things are okay that better thinkers say are not okay.
Here's another example. Capital punishment is not murder. When a murderer is convicted in trial, according to the law of the land, capital
You guys are just making shit up now. Like, you guys are literally just saying anything that'll justify what you're doing. Like,
the victim's life. Killing one person will never bring back another. Which was stolen. In Genesis 9, verse 6, it says, if anyone takes a human life and is talking about murder, that person's life will also be taken by human hands. For God made human beings in his own image. The case of Marcellus Williams alone should tell you all you need to know about why capital punishment is wrong. He maintained his innocence until his very last breath.
what?
Marcellus Williams was executed by lethal injection Tuesday, despite the objections of prosecutors and the family of the woman he was convicted of murdering.
And my dad was away from me for 25 years, and then he was murdered. There.
Williams spent more than 2 decades on Missouri's death row for the 1998 murder of Felicia Gale, who was found stabbed in her St. Louis home. 2 previous executions were called off after questions emerged about the original trial, including DNA tests of the murder weapon, which did not link back to Williams, and bias in jury selection.
Wow.
Which was brought up again.
You want a bagel or do you want toast?
In State Supreme Court appeal this week. The trial prosecutor in Marcellus Williams' case has admitted under oath that he struck a juror in part because of his race. The shadow of doubt cast over Williams' guilt and his willingness to accept life in prison instead of death were not enough. Both the Missouri and U.S. Supreme Courts declined to intervene. In Washington, the 3 liberal justices said they would have granted a stay. They were overruled by the conservative majority. Missouri's governor rejected Williams' final plea for clemency. The prosecution argued that he was innocent, and they still murdered him. This isn't justice. They murdered someone. But even if it was perfect, even if every single time they executed someone, they were 100% guilty, there's still no justifiable reason to kill. It's been shown that
I saw the
it's not a
craziest shit,
deterrent.
the crazy
It's
video
no
of fucking
better
what's the
protecting
Tom
the
Method.
public than life behind bars.
And he's
obviously
like,
has
you guys
no
have it
chance
in your
of
head already that I'm a
rehabilitating
murderer,
person
so like
that's
what's the
being
point fucking,
executed.
because every
It
year
is
he goes up
unethical,
for
it's
parole.
outdated, and it's
But he's
only
like,
based on
that shit
vengeance.
crazy, like
There's
fucking
permissible
garage crazy.
scripture for a government
But
to
like, he's
give
like,
to the death
he
penalty.
actually admits, he's like, I'll tell you everything, I'll tell you every illegal thing I've ever done. But I never murdered. Like, that wasn't me. He's like, if I wanted to murder someone, I'd murder fucking everybody. I'd pick up that book, I'd fucking bash it over your head, and I'd fucking kill everybody if I wanted to be a murderer.
They have a right with God to do that. You don't have to support that, but you can't use the scripture against them. That is true about the Bible, but they also said the exact same thing to justify slavery. Despite this being a simple commandment about not murdering people, these pastors spend a significant amount of time talking about who it is okay to kill and when you get to kill people. And yet, whenever purity culture, and I watch a bunch of pastors and Christian influencers talking about waiting for marriage and why you can't touch each other in the downstairs parts, they all talk about not asking how far you can go.
And why you can't touch each other in your downstairs parts.
You are more likely to cross it. Was to flee from sexual immorality. So is fleeing like, alright, let's kiss and let's make out and then let's see where my lips go next, you know? That is not fleeing from sexual immorality. That is
Treading the line.
yeah, that is seeing how close to the line that you can actually get.
Ew.
You know, that's a very hard thing to do. I mean, even hugging.
Christian side hugs.
Is this sin? Is this sin? Is this sin? Is this sin? Or have you made a decision to push back from what culture says and to say, I don't even have to be on the line. I know who I am in Christ. And I'm not trying to figure out what's a sin or not. I'm trying to figure out, will this help me reach purpose or not? Is this relationship going to push me into the place God has called me to be?
And some of you are here and you're immediately.
Dude, you're way too hype. Is that where you want to see when Jesus come back? Check out a little Joe Dirt.
And you are condemned as well.
But when it comes to taking the life of another human being, the first thing they're going to do is get at their chalk and be more than ready to draw that line. I understand why. What are we? Wait a second, what are we doing? You said cross the line. Cross the line.
Yeah, I just like have a little reflector too.
Parfois, c'est important de déconnecter. C'est tout. De verser dans le moment.
Wait, what? Is
Et
that
de
a
faire
commercial for Ottawa?
zéro compromis.
They're
In
more
French?
than willing
That
to
would be hilarious.
encourage
If
you
you have a
to
Quebec
walk
City
as
commercial in
close to
English.
that line as you want.
I'm like, you
And
guys are not
then
helping
they try to
us.
figure out why no one values human life.
And I don't want to overstate my case. I would say, though, that what we're dealing with is an increasingly desensitized culture to murder. By the time they graduate, the average young adult, by the time they graduate from high school at age 18, they have witnessed between television, video games, and movies 80,000 murders. So we say, well, it's not real.
Like video
Sure,
games?
Paul,
Yeah.
some movies are very realistic, some TV shows are very realistic, and increasingly some video games are very realistic.
Not just realistic, historically accurate.
And blowing the balls off of terrorists and jihadists who think that if they die a murder, they get an eternity with the virgins. If you don't see the irony in that and a little comedy in that, you're missing a wonderful opportunity for irony and sarcasm.
What
To
the
see
fuck was that?
80,000 murders, I would submit to you, has the strong potential of desensitizing someone to the horror of murder and to the sanctity of life.
It's just filth. We wonder why so many of our young people today act in violence towards themselves and towards each other. Look at the video games they play. Look at the shows they watch. There's no value for human life. There's no value. We have a culture that does not value life, and it starts with the unborn, and it goes all the way up to our
You're a
seniors.
fucking prick.
We don't value them anymore.
If you did value life, you would value a woman's right to
It's not
choose.
violent movies that
Because that's how you end up with dumpster babies.
People have blamed violent video games and violent movies and violent books and violent stories around the campfire for as long as those things have existed. But studies show that the reason we gravitate towards violence in media, especially horror media, isn't because we have a desire to be violent, but rather because we have our own fears of violence happening to us. And the violent media gives us a controlled environment to face those fears and work through them.
But that's not realistic of like when you should be afraid. That's why you have a bunch of Jewish people right now who are like, I'm scared for my life. And it's like, but why are you scared for your life? And you're like, I don't know. I'm in fear for my life. It's like, but you're not. Like you just like unless you did something.
Rights activists don't like the sacrifice of animals foreshadowing Jesus. Those who are pacifistic do not like the fact that God's people are given commands. Those commands do include permission to have capital crimes tried and punished with, yes, even capital punishment. Not only that, God himself in the Old Testament kills a lot of people.
Wow.
He floods the world in the days of Noah. He sends fiery road tar out of the sky for Sodom.
Tells Abraham to kill his child that he wanted so bad.
It's a bloody book.
We have kids beheading giants, people being stabbed in the head with tent pegs, kings being stabbed on the toilet, children being devoured by bears, families being fed to lions, descriptions of babies' heads being bashed, a daughter getting sacrificed to God, and God being cool with that. And of course, yes, there was also the whole Noah's Ark thing.
I want to tell you something very interesting. If you study Genesis 6, right before God destroyed the world, do you know the reason he destroyed the world? He says himself. In Genesis chapter 5, in fact, he says it twice. In Genesis 6:11, it says, now the earth was corrupt and was filled with violence. And then it says in verse 13, God said, the earth is filled with violence, and I'm about to destroy it.
Oh, wow.
Don't think this attitude or this idea of violence is some secondary issue. God hates violence.
God hated violence
So much it made him
that
violent.
He did the ultimate violent act that children had to drown or have water rush in and make them smash against rocks. That was God's solution to violence, killing everyone.
Sorry.
You don't think the Old Testament God's the same as the New Testament God? So you got Genesis 1,
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, you got all that stuff we just talked about. You got the flood, you got fire from heaven, you got the plagues of Egypt, you got hail, you got lightning, you got, the Red Sea, you got all these things.
From the river to the sea.
The Bible says in Revelation, Genesis the first book, Revelation is the last book, the Bible says the risen, all-powerful, mighty Lord Jesus is one day that is yet to be seen in this world, going to split the heavens like a scroll, descend on a white horse, with the words written faithful and true.
Better call Daddy.
Sword proceed from his mouth, and he will judge wicked man the world abroad, so much so that the Bible says when he executes what is called the winepress of the wrath of God, that the blood of those judged will run as high as the horse's bridle for 200 miles. Same God. Same standard of righteousness, same ability and right to execute justice. None of that is murder.
You have to justify your violent God, so you spend so much time justifying death.
I made a vow to have peace at any cost. No matter how many men, women, and children I need to kill to get it.
Let's say like a woman gets pregnant, and she wasn't planning on it. It wasn't really convenient with her life plan. Why would it be wrong to kill that baby? Because the baby is made in God's image. Just because a baby was conceived at an inconvenient time doesn't entirely use the baby's life.
It's not a baby. Just because something has the building blocks for life doesn't mean it
like, do I remember my mom getting my ear pierced at 3 months old? No, I don't. Am I happy she did? Yes, I am.
I make pancakes, but I don't have pancakes. Stopping a pregnancy before a baby is formed is not killing a baby.
No, it's not.
That would be murder. And I want to highlight that because there are people who will say, the Bible doesn't say.
No, that's how you end up with girls shoving foreign objects in their fucking cooters. And you end up with dumpster babies. Fucking the orphanage is full of fucking children that have already been taken away from their fucking parents.
Specify a lot of the ways that you can murder someone. It doesn't go through the list. You shall not murder by death through 1,000 paper cuts. You shall not murder with a dirty bomb. It just says you shall not murder. It doesn't have to because it says don't murder. And you know what else? It doesn't specify all the reasons you might murder or all the different types of people you might murder. It doesn't have to go down the list. Like don't murder those kind of people. Don't murder those kind of people. It just says you do not murder. Don't do it. All abortion is murder.
They've spent this entire survey deciding what counts and doesn't count as murder and what this actually says. But then all of a sudden, when it comes to abortion, when it comes to somebody's right to choose, the commandment itself is sufficient. They don't need to split hairs all of a sudden. Despite the fact that there is an entire passage where priests are instructed on how to do an abortion if a woman cheated.
Oh, wow.
When does life begin? Conception. Scientifically and medically.
Why don't you have a birth certificate then?
And 3 fertilized eggs don't implant on the uterine wall and never moves on to the next stage. Did God create a system where 1 in 3 precious babies die? Is God a murderer? I mean, yes, God in the Bible is a murderer.
Thank you.
They don't put any thought into their words. They're told abortion is murder, so they say, okay, abortion is murder.
Why are we doing this?
That's like the Jews will not replace us thing. All those guys that were present, they said that they were a bunch of frat guys. A bunch of frat guys, and they were like, yeah, we were drunk, and a bunch of campers, and they're like, hey, you want a horse? And they were like, yeah, totally.
Here's the thing that I think most people don't understand. At the time we brought this out in a seminar series from about 1978 through to 1980, evangelicals were not interested. Not only that, they didn't want to know. Our friend Billy Graham, the great evangelist, was pro-choice. Most evangelicals don't know that. He refused to participate with us in our seminars, even though he and my father were friends.
He said, Fran, you made a mistake here. I think
Well,
people, women ought to have a choice. Dr. Chris, Baptist Convention, the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, and for Americans, and that's the most conservative group of evangelicals in America. He was pro-choice. He even preached sermons on choice. We had to convince evangelicals. I think a lot of commentators looking back think somehow this was always part of the evangelical movement.
Right?
It was not. Once other evangelical leaders saw this as an easy tactic to keep people angry, babies are being murdered, we can raise. And when people like Jack Kemp and Ronald Reagan and other people we knew realized that the apathetic evangelical majority that didn't even care about voting suddenly could be energized because they had lost the fight on segregation. And these segregationists like Jerry Falwell, now we gave them something new to fight. And so two big agendas, an anti-gay agenda and an anti-abortion agenda. And the anti-abortion agenda became the litmus test, became the red meat.
A few years ago, when they were first talking about overturning Roe v. Wade, I released a video about abortion. When you look at the view count versus comment ratio of that video, you can see that there have been far more comments compared to other videos with similar view counts. In fact, more comments than a video with over twice as many views. That's because it is a topic that people are passionate about, and they will argue with conviction about.
Yeah,
When you
because
successfully
I
sell
think that
something
when
as
right
it's
to the
murdering
all right,
a
so
baby,
if you
that's
are a
gonna
man
happen.
and you
But
have
that's a
3
false
illegitimate children that you don't feel like you want to pay for,
specifically
you
designed
should be castrated.
to make sure people feel
You should be
angry,
forced to get a
to
vasectomy.
make sure people view the
Like,
other
and that
side
would be a
of the
fucking
argument
big no-go for a lot of them.
baby killers. As I was deconstructing, the one thing I held on to for longer than I'd like to admit is that abortion is murder, because it was so ingrained in me.
Oh, wow.
I was afraid to even think about the
Really?
topic for a while I was questioning so much about my worldview. It took me so long to
Yeah,
even
but if you
look
don't
at
have a
it,
vagina,
because I was
like,
afraid
you
of
can
being
have your
callous
feelings
like all
about
those
it.
baby killers
Good
out
for
there.
you. Voice
You
the
guys
shit out
know
of
I
them.
am
Doesn't mean you stop me
pro-emotion.
from having an abortion.
And I
Fuck
think
you.
we should express our
Because
emotions.
when women don't want to
I
fucking have
also
a baby,
think
they will make
that it
sure
is
they don't
not
have that
the
baby.
only
By putting
way
foreign objects
to
in the
know
hooters,
something
drinking
is right
fucking
or
mystery
wrong.
potions,
And we have
like,
to take time to understand
yeah, and then when all those things don't work, you end up with a baby in a dumpster.
based on. But an
I saw
embryo,
this
a
saddest thing.
zygote, and a fetus
It was
are all
a
called different
16-year-old girl,
things
around
because
16
they
years
are
old,
not
and
yet
she's carrying a baby.
People
And she has
need
no
to have
shoes.
the right to
And she
make
walks into like a pizza
decisions
place,
about
and
their
then she
own
goes up to like this
body.
black chick who's like sitting waiting for
I
food.
was allowed with
Goes,
no
"Can you
questions
hold
asked
this,
to get
please?"
a
And she's like,
rocket
"Yeah, sure." And she
emoji
takes the baby and
tattooed
goes
on
walks
my
up.
arm.
And she's like,
But
"Wait,
there are
what?"
people out
Like,
there
so
right
this is a
now
newborn
in
baby.
what's
Like,
supposed to
she
be
just
a
had this
free
baby to go.
country who
Like,
aren't
or the
allowed to
day
get
before.
needed medical care because one time
Isn't it? Isn't that so
guys
fucked up inside?
wanted
Like,
us to be
and like they
sad
call the police,
so they
obviously.
could
They call
sway
like
us
an ambulance to
politically.
come make sure the baby's
By this
okay.
message to
But she's
America
not that
today,
baby.
by the grace of God and the courage
Which is
of
just like
conservative
so
Supreme
cool.
Court justices that we now have, abortions are no longer universally possible in America. But while we support the act of the Supreme Court, abortions are now a state-by-state issue. That's what happened with the Supreme Court ruling. As of today, 13 states have shut down the baby-killing abortion centers, and thank you, God, for that.
So because they don't understand how pregnancy works or when life begins, they cheer
I
on
just don't
laws
understand why
that
men are
kill
allowed to
people.
come up with
New
fucking
report shows
rules about
maternal
what I
and
do with my
infant death rates are higher in states that currently ban or restrict abortions,
Is
and
going
Georgia
down?
is on that list. Researchers say that Georgia is one of 26 restricted states whose policies limit access to abortions and has some of the worst health outcomes in maternal health. So this includes fewer maternity care providers, higher rates of maternal mortality and infant death, and a greater number of maternity care users. Health officials say health needs improvement.
Yes, as you said, was a 28-year-old mother who became pregnant last summer and decided to end the pregnancy, but she couldn't do that in Georgia. Georgia had just outlawed abortion, so it took her weeks to figure out how to go out of state. And
that's what happened to me, where I was trying to fucking get an appointment.
That abortion pills, major medical
and
studies,
like the places that were calling were like sending me like
extremely safe.
Call here, and like, you're like, oh, we're not doing like after this movie.
Patients should immediately go to the hospital, where the standard of care would be what's called a D&C procedure to empty the uterus. And this is the same procedure used for both abortions and for routine miscarriage care. What we know is that Amber developed complications, and by the time she did go to the hospital, she was developing a serious infection. So instead of providing a D&C right away, the records we obtained showed it took 20 hours before doctors intervened. They talked about it multiple times, and in the meantime, Amber's condition worsened. Her organs began to fail, and by the time they tried to operate and save her life, it was too late.
And septic is so treatable. Like septic is a blood transfusion. There's something, the baby was dead inside her. I mean.
A life-saving decision Miller made with guidance from Dr. Katasha Muse just a few months before Tennessee outlawed abortions.
We know that the infant morbidity and mortality rate is very high. And for Black women as well. And so pregnancy just adds on an additional risk for them.
The Tennessee Department of Health's latest report shows Shelby County has the highest maternal mortality rate in Tennessee, averaging 135 deaths per 100,000 live births from 2017 to 2020. And Black women make up the majority of those cases.
These new abortion restrictions have disrupted not just abortion access, but as we have all been warned, maternal health care across the United States, actually reproductive health care of all sorts, resulting in an increase in pregnancy complications, risk of maternal mortality. Now, this is a problem because the U.S. has an alarmingly high maternal mortality rate. I just want to ask our director to keep this on the screen for a second. That's Mexico at the top. United States is number 2. This is of global countries. Like, just look at where most developed countries are. France, Australia, Austria, Israel, Japan, 5, 4, 3. We're at 31 per 100,000. This is by far the highest of all wealthy nations.
That's fucking concerning as fuck.
Places like Kazakhstan. And now a new study in the Journal of the American Medical Association
That's so upsetting.
Reality. Between 1999 and 2019, the maternal mortality rate in the United States more than doubled, with the highest deaths among Black women.
They devalue the life of a pregnant person because they care more about a potential person. I don't think I haven't noticed that with the stand your ground laws, with police shootings, with the death penalty, and with banning abortions. It's people of color who are most affected.
For those who are murderers, not just pro-choice advocates, words matter. For you murderers, you men who have driven girlfriends or wives to the clinic, you men who have encouraged or forced or paid for the abortion, you women who have killed your own child, murdered your own child. Some of you are murderers, and some of you are accessories to murder.
You know what? When you fucking have a baby, you can talk to me about having babies. Until then, you should shut your mouth like fucking be the scumbag that you are.
I hope you guys don't mind me saying this, but I actually think that Mark Driscoll is kind of garbage. Recyclable or biodegradable garbage. Kind that stays in the landfill forever. And water supplies. Like the kind of garbage that makes all the fish and the area get sick. But now we get into the everybody's guilty section. The you're all murderers part of the show.
Jesus told a crowd of people who were listening to him that even if you hate somebody, that you are guilty of murder. Yeah, which seems crazy to me. You know, that murder is like one of the worst things you can possibly do. But even just hating somebody, means that you're guilty of that.
What? Yeah, but didn't you guys just say that you hate like women because they murder their babies? Like,
No, that kids show should have taught this much about murder. But what do I know? I'm just one man. Everyone
You can stare at it a long time. Everyone who hates his brother is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. Eternal life's not in control of you when you hate. The devil's in control of you because he was a murderer from the beginning. Everyone hates his brother, his sister. That's bigger than this. I'm just biologically speaking. That's who do you hate?
But I do slightly agree with like
You have a
the
spirit
whole
of
like
murder
don't
against them.
hate anybody. Like you should not.
Also, Jesus said, if anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. So Jesus was a murderer then? See, you could just do a sermon about the thing, they'll make it about another thing. You don't have to make
Like, yeah, I like raping people. I think that's cool.
just let stuff
Like, I
and
think it's
discuss
very
stuff
interesting
without
with
being
it.
told that you're scum. But these people have
And
to
I
make
think
sure that
there's
you'll
something
leave
broken. I
feeling worse
still
than when
understand.
you arrived, so that they can offer you the cure later.
Like,
Doesn't sound right, does it?
I don't think they're good people.
By
Obviously,
definition,
like,
some of you are guilty of murder every morning on your drive to work. See, murder doesn't start with the hands, it begins in the heart. Anger and the hatred burn in your heart, and you imagine someone hurting someone. How do I know that? Because you've posted on Facebook all the time. I cringe every time I see a follower of Jesus that just made me want to throat punch somebody.
No.
That emotion comes out in words of anger.
For mine.
Those feelings and thoughts and words are what ultimately lead to the action of murder. See, the problem, according to Jesus, is not our murderous hands, it's our murderous hearts.
Do I message down again?
So, how do you live out the idea that every soul and every life matters? How do you become a life giver and a life taker? Well, it starts in the heart. Jesus says, you have heard that it
30
ago, you shall not murder. Anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you, now he's elevating it, that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment.
And he was like trying to come in the house.
And anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka. See, they had their own four-letter words back then, too. Everybody has four-letter words. They're all human history. That word, that's an Aramaic word.
You already yelled at me for
really
making
means
what?
an empty head. And it communicates the idea of spitting in disgust. So, like, flipping each other. Anyone who says this is answerable to the court, and anyone who says you fool is in danger of.
Yes. As someone who has experienced my
Yeah, but you just call that criminals, yeah. Breaking the law. That's what I mean, though, and that's like over a period of a month.
That was supposed to be for a winter.
was very unhealthy
I
and
was
it
broke
contributed
this winter.
heavily
I don't
to
know how I'm gonna pay
developing a
rent.
drinking problem that took me
I hope
years to
these
get out
phones
of.
are gonna give me
So
the
yes,
price.
I understand that words can hurt. But when you make that magic and you say that saying something mean or saying I hate equals murder because there's no way that Jesus was being hyperbolic, you diminish what it actually means to take a life. Every single person has called somebody a moron. Every single person has said they hate someone. So by that logic, every single person is a murderer, which means that murder, which means that this line of thinking does not human life.
When I was a kid, we used to say sticks and stones will never hurt me. Right? They do, and so do words. So do words.
You great in customer service. You can
Sermon should have
you be
been,
great in customer service.
don't murder
You're very,
people,
like,
now let's go home.
Have you ever stood at the edge of a cliff or a subway platform with someone and you thought just for a split second, what if I push you?
Well, not really. Usually I follow the Judeo-Christian ethic of thou shalt not kill, but that's just
I know. I'm just making a point of how many times we trust other people with our lives. I mean, look at us.
And of course, there are times when taking a life is necessary, but it's never good. Abortion didn't need to be brought up in the discussion about murder because it's not that.
like a moment.
Words can have consequences.
Oh wait, what? No! Never!
Sometimes we need to vent and rant about someone who sucks. And sometimes that person who sucks needs to be told that they suck.
I agree. Public shaming.
But we do know death sucks.
If people are shitty, you call them out and you tell everybody, like, hey, look at this piece of shit. Do we all agree that this person's a piece of shit?
And I know there are people who love you who are also glad that you are still here.
Right?
Let's do the altar call thing right now. Get somebody to start playing some music. I'll just get you to take in your phones. Just message somebody and say, I love you, and I'm glad that you're still here. Thanks, everybody. Hey, Ray, thank you so much for making that inspiring video. So many benefit from it, send it their way. As always, you are wonderful people, and I love you. Work, Sky Moon.
Happy Genocide Day. Let's be thankful for the Native Americans that we slaughtered in the millions and
Things happen every day on
in town.
Just not like they do in the
They
movies.
can't do anything.
Sharing your faith or giving your testimony is a big deal in many Christian circles.
He does something.
Asking somebody the other day if I could hear their testimony.
What?
And it's a church word, right? Testimony. People don't really talk like that except in courts and church, you know what I mean? It's just a real churchy thing to say.
Testify.
Testify.
I want to testify.
Personal
And
testimony
testify on my
is
brother.
the gospel presented in terms of your own experience. It's the
Oh, what is it?
experiential, practical, and lived side of the proclamation of the gospel. It's sharing where your life and God's actions have intersected.
Testify.
Peter 3:15 says, "Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you the reason for the hope that you have."
Testify, Captain. And they have it down to a science. Like in this one, I can only assume is a hostage video.
So the first part here is your life before conversion. Life before, well, we say before Christ, but there was a
Before
conversion.
current era.
When you're sharing that, you'll spend a little bit of time on that, but not that much. The bulk of what you're going to be sharing when you're sharing your personal testimonies in this section right here. Number 2,
And now we're playing because I was back in the church. Like,
and this is coming to Christ. How you came to Christ, how you came to Christ. We'll go into that a little bit more. And the third part of your personal testimony is in your life after conversion. So think of these as the 3 pillars of your testimony. When you're sharing your personal testimony, how you got saved.
I coughed really loud. Should we take that again? No? No one noticed? Okay, cool.
Keep it short, keep it chronological. Think about it this way. EC before Christ. D, the decision to come to Christ. AD, your life after the decision to come to Christ.
Like this. It says, there was a time in my life when I was lonely, depressed, and then I met Jesus, received his forgiveness, and began to follow him. And now I feel light. I feel free. Do you have a story like that? So you can see right there in a short little few seconds, I'm able to share about what God has done specifically in my life, how I have met him in those areas, and then provoke a further conversation and lead to the next step of what is God doing in your life.
If these people want me to believe that their life is
not
better
much,
with Christ,
That's all me.
then why do they all feel like they're taken in some sort of abandoned warehouse with a weapon behind the camera?
It's kidnapped. For real. Stop. What? What was wrong with that? You said you were kidnapped for real. I don't want people to think I was fake kidnapped. You know, I'm selling it.
They are before, how, and after. So let's start with before. When you're sharing your testimony, you really want to talk about your life before you knew Jesus. And keep in mind that no one's conversion is better than anyone else's. If you were
with this. Woo! That was a lot.
This is a really fascinating study that looked at first dates. So one bridge is a stone bridge. One bridge is a rickety wooden bridge that's wobbly. And what the study found is that when you have a date on a stone bridge, people feel less attracted to each other than when you're on a rickety bridge. Now, what's the difference? On the rickety bridge, I'm a little bit scared.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Mr. plans on quadrupling the tax on gas groceries and home heating. He gave 3% of Canadians a pause on the carbon tax for home heating, whereas poll numbers were tanking and his MPs were revolting. The Liberal Rural Affairs Minister said if people on the prairies want to pause on the tax, they should elect more Liberals. Well, the MP of Calgary Skyview is a Liberal, but his constituents don't get the pause. Will the Prime Minister let that member mail in a free vote on our common sense Conservative motion to take the tax off and keep the heat on, and shove this carbon tax where the Prime Minister's poll numbers are, in the gutter?
Oh!
Do you think that's it to shove his tax up his butt?
No. We should send it where his poll numbers are, in the gutter.
Alright!
I haven't seen any change. So once you're a narcissist, that's it.
Yeah, you're kind of in a club, and the difficulty is that it's what we call a rubber band theory. Okay, if you can stretch a rubber band, and it can become quite long, start at this big and get it this big. But if I let go, that thing's popping back.
Okay.
So the way
that's interesting.
is that you can actually train this person to be a little bit more empathic, to not be so jerky and not be so entitled, and actually listen to other people.
Huh.
Here's the but. As soon as there's some stress in the system, the workday doesn't go the way they want. They didn't get the raise they hoped for. Their friend buys a bigger house than them.
Yeah, but I'm curious. I would love for her to see that black dude that I watched. That he's like, I'm a self-diagnosed narcissist. Like,
and so narcissists,
because he will, like, he's like, honestly, he's like, what I would have done. That looks like an old video. Because honestly, that the self-diagnosed narcissist guy, he's really good. I love him.
Tomorrow we have to go to the bank.
Okay.
Or after tomorrow.
Okay. What's up, Jack?
You put out this research, belief in God makes you happy and so on. So if that is granted, then that conclusion is what conclusion? The conclusion that we have to pretend as if God exists.
No, because again, two different types of thing. Religion, the existence of God, are metaphysical truth claims. Human rights are
not only changing the variables in your argument.
You can't just swap in something that isn't of the same category.
Why not?
I mean, I hope that much.
Okay, so look, what's wrong with us just doing that with God just to maximize pleasure?
Nothing.
Nothing. That's the point. Then that would mean there'd be no atheists who believe in human rights because then they end up believing in God.
It's not true. Why not? Because again, you're discounting the fact that people take pleasure from knowing what's true. And if they know that they're living under a misapprehension, then they can't believe something to be the case. That's what's going to prevent an atheist from just becoming religious for the sake of it. They wouldn't be able to convince themselves of a misapprehension.
People can't do that.
Okay.
Why are you watching things just on religion right now?
I'm not. Just what's in my feed.
It's about religion in your feed.
Is Dr. Romani religion?
When you come into a codependent relationship, you just take care of the other person. You make them happy. You attend to their needs. You make sacrifices for them, and you forget all about your own needs. And you just give to make them happy. To heal from that and to have a healthy relationship, you need to be just as aware of your thoughts and feelings as theirs. When you come into a codependent,
The Trudeau government is taking bread and circuses to a whole new level. First, they hike your taxes until you can't afford bread, and then they spend your money on circus tickets for themselves. In fact, Trudeau's bureaucrats bought up $721,000 worth of tickets to various events in Canada, the US, and around the world. They went to circuses and concerts, balls and ballets, galas and award shows, and football and hockey games. Then the most important part, they sent you the bill.
Bureaucrats at Global Affairs Canada spend $6,800 on tickets to Cirque du Soleil in Austria. Months later, they followed it up with another Cirque du Soleil performance, this time in South Korea. They also spent $24,000 on tickets to the musical Come From Away in Australia, Japan, and the United States. And they dropped $20,000 of your money on tickets to all in Taiwan.
Yeah, because they're beating.
On and on it goes, department after department. And all of this
Like, you're not fooling anybody. Like, do you think people are that stupid? Like, as if we don't know that's what you're doing? Like, I know that when you go on a week trip to Vegas for a work thing, you're not just working. It's a vacation for you. Like,
it sure is nice at these
like when I love to go on fucking a week to anywhere.
days of hiding your taxes and not returning your
Like, you really think people are that dumb? You know, they don't know? And like the whole time, like, so when you wake up and when you go to sleep and the whole time you're working, like, dude, it's fucking great.
So much. It might be cheaper for them just to stay in Ottawa because there is no shortage of clowns there. And this isn't the only way.
So lame.
The Trudeau government
It was a very pure quality of diff.
blowing your cash, partying. How about this one? The Trudeau government also blew $2.7 million flying bureaucrats to global film and music festivals where they threw expensive parties.
Where they banned the movie!
And other film and music festivals in France, Germany, Texas, and Australia. And yet again,
Australia!
they paid for it all. At the South by Southwest Music and Film Festival, bureaucrats spent $15,000 renting grants. Another $20,000 renting furniture to decorate their Canada House event. They also dropped $5,000 on DJ services. Of course, they needed a social media coordinator for their Canada House, so they spent another $15,000 on that. And those bureaucrats, they didn't want to go hungry, so they spent another $11,700 of your money catering their opening reception and party. At the film festival in France, bureaucrats spent almost $10,000 on a, let me read it here for you folks, umbrella stand coordinator services. Whatever the heck that is. All told, the cost to taxpayers like you for
No, I think for like seating
music festivals around the world
for the
was
table,
$2.7 million
so where to put umbrella.
over a 16-month
That's like,
period.
is that like a job category or like?
Finance Minister Christine Freeland loves to talk about
Yeah, you just come up with them on the spot. Like,
but there is nothing responsible about spending taxpayers' money like this. There is nothing responsible.
that's what happens when you hire a journalist for a finance minister.
Taxpayers like you and giving it to
Like, why is journalism the qualifications to be the fucking Minister of Finance for Canada? Like, how is that? The Federal Minister for Finance of Canada. The only qualification she has is journalism. To be journalist.
Newsflash for the Trudeau government, you're more than $1 trillion in debt. So maybe you could just chill on the circus tickets and global film festivals until your budget balances itself. And the budget will balance itself.
And the budget will balance itself. And the budget will balance itself.
Like, no, but is he like fucking actually retarded though? Like, your sentence literally like it's a double entendre or like a catch-22. Like, it contradicts itself. That's the whole point of
See,
that's it. Where it's like no credit or bad credit, no credit. It's like, what? That can't be accurate. Like,
Unlimited unique visuals enhance every
Hey!
content.
Hey!
This stuff is an entire ecosystem of wasting taxpayers' money on stuff like this that most people wouldn't choose to spend their money on. And guess what? If most people wouldn't choose to spend their own money on it, there's no way that you should be forcing your neighbor down the street to pay for what you pretend to want to watch. It is unbelievable the waste of money here. This is the Canadian Taxpayers Federation podcast, where we are fighting for lower taxes, less waste, and more accountable government. I'm Chris Sims. I'm the Alberta director. I'm actually on the road right now. I'm up in Red Deer, Alberta. My good friends,
I love this guy. He's hilarious.
He's our federal director. Hi. He is at our embassy there in Ottawa, and right next door to him in the same place is our investigative journalist, Ryan Thorpe. Now, you know when you see Ryan on the podcast, I know, you should probably sit down, okay? But if you're out, if you're walking the dog or doing the dishes or something, just brace yourself. Because when he sent me this story, I actually laughed out loud with rage. Because I can't believe it. So, Ryan, you want to start with Ryan, Franco? Can I start with Ryan? Okay. I think Franco's here for color commentary. Ryan, why do taxpayers pay money for circus tickets?
Circus tickets and many other types of tickets as well. So yeah, another day here in Ottawa, another ridiculous government waste story that we've dug up. Turns out taxpayers have been on the hook for $721,000 worth of tickets to circus,
what's he have for you?
concerts, to balls, to the ballet, to galas and award shows, to football and hockey games, musicals, and on it goes. And all of this spending, all 721,000 of it, came during a 17-month period. So this was just between January 2023 and June of 2024. And that works out to about $42,000 a month. So the takeaway on this one for taxpayers is you're paying $42,000 a month. So a bunch of federal bureaucrats from here in Ottawa and around the world can go out and enjoy a night out on the town.
Okay. I had some follow-up questions. Number
I
one,
have
like
some
these bureaucrats are
follow-up
already
questions.
paid. I just need to stress this because some of our listeners, like, they haven't lived in the belly of the beast. Good for you. They haven't worked in politics. These bureaucrats are already paid. Okay, this is extra stuff that is being paid for them by you, the taxpayer. So you mentioned a few things in there. You mentioned the ballet. You mentioned the circus. Like, send in the clowns. Can you give us some details? What kinds of ballets? What kinds of circuses are we paying for? And why? Did they give any justification?
So no justification. The government records that I was going through to put together the story, there was no explanation for why this was needed, what value taxpayers supposedly got out of this deal, and there was no indication that any of this money was reimbursed.
Our politicians are happy. Don't you want politicians to be happy? That way they make better choices for you.
Canada.
Fuck you.
Notorious waste offender here in Ottawa.
So
So
you're
in
taking
May
stress for us.
2023, they spent $6,800 on tickets to Cirque du Soleil in Vienna, Austria. They followed that up a couple of months later with some more Cirque du Soleil tickets, this time in South Korea. They spent a combined $24,000.
Like, and you go after me and my people, the hardcore criminals,
and these were performances in multiple U.S. states.
for a fucking parking ticket?
In Australia.
I get warranted for over a parking ticket?
Taiwan.
A noise complaint 15 years ago?
And that's, again,
Fuck you guys! Fuck this! I'll pay for this!
Across all departments, so a couple other quick examples.
I'll pay for that.
He had the priciest single purchase that I saw, which was a $2,500 ticket for their CEO to go to a gala in New York City. Canada Infrastructure Bank dropped $8,000 on a table to an event in Toronto, and Canada Post.
Whoa!
A couple other quick examples. Canadian Museum of History, they had the priciest single purchase that I saw, which was a $2,500 ticket for their CEO to go to a gala in New York City. The Canada Infrastructure Bank dropped $8,000 on a table to an event in Toronto.
A table?
And Canada Post was the one place we couldn't
One
get
of those tables. You know when you go to Comic-Con? There's tables. Well, he went to one of those events and he got $8,000 to a table. He thought it's a good idea. $8,000.
$5 and it's a gambling table.
Oh.
I think it's a gambling table.
Yeah.
Because they refused to disclose how much they spent on tickets, how much they expensed taxpayers for tickets, claiming that it was financial information and therefore confidential in nature.
Sure.
Isn't that the same thing?
I'm sorry. No. If it's taxpayers' money, that is not confidential.
Yeah.
If it's their own money, like, I don't care what you're spending your own money on. That's taxpayers'
I
money.
do.
It is not confidential.
I do care, because I want to know how much money that government's making off of me.
Did you say a ball? Like it was called a ball?
Yes, yeah.
The policeman's ball. The contribution on your ticket. Sometimes it'll say $20 contribution, sometimes it'll say like, I don't want to pay for their fucking ball. And they go, oh, okay, sorry, our bad. We thought you might want to contribute. That's what the contribution is. Because I was like, what is contribution? Like, sometimes we'll say 20, sometimes we'll say 0. But I got one that's like $140 contribution. I was like, I'm not paying for your fucking ball. What? Like,
Is this surprising to me? Yeah. Well, you know what first came to my mind is just because this government is a circus doesn't mean that bureaucrats should be billing taxpayers for tickets to go to the circus. And you know, if these bureaucrats really wanted to see a circus, they didn't have to bill taxpayers to go to, Vienna or South Korea. They should have just stayed
trying to sound like the UK.
Because
We got
there's no
order.
shortage of clowns. So that's a good way to save some money right there.
This is like imitating art. It really is.
And you know, like, we get these waste stories from Ryan because the supporters of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation and allows for this investigative journalism to happen. We get stories from Ryan all the time, and I'm always pretty mad. You know, like, I'm always like, God, man, people are struggling.
So,
what the heck is the government doing?
Your contribution, I paid $40 to the policeman's ball on this ticket.
Infuriated. $721,000 on tickets to circuses, balls, galas, sporting events, ballets, you name it. $721,000 of other people's money. Yeah. Folks, over a 17-month period, they're billing you for $42,000
They use none of my contribution, $20.
to go to these prime
See, and I got up to $140 contribution.
In the US, in Vienna, in South Korea, in Australia, in Japan, in Taiwan.
$15. The minimum was $30. They gave it to me for $15, and I paid $20 extra into their fucking policeman's ball.
Canadians are worried about not being able to afford to fill up their fridge with food.
This ticket, the receipt was.
These bureaucrats have is
like, put that aside. Fuck, on top of chasing us for tickets. Like, we can't even fucking fill that fridge.
This was the ones where Dom followed me, and I got pulled over for parking place. And they threw the fucking book at me.
For a federal bureaucrat is $125,000 a year. The average salary in Canada is less than 70 grand. So I'm sure they had
Just a sec. Did you say the average? I think I misheard you. The average is $125?
The average pay, salary, and all the other benefits for a federal government bureaucrat is $125 grand a year.
Oh.
The average
No,
salary
you didn't pay
in
it yet.
Canada is less than 70
That's the one for
grand.
driving when
Okay, so I'm sure they had a great
Oh,
time
okay.
at Cirque du Soleil. I'm
Yeah,
sure
don't
they
lose
Why did it say machine? Oh, that's where I live.
If they want to go to these events,
Yeah, no, these are my 2 tickets from the other
they
day.
should pay for it themselves. And another thing, in the
cut
real
that
world
one.
outside of government, if you were fortunate,
that one.
if you were fortunate enough to have a
Because
job where you have to take clients out
you
to
can't forget your
events,
driving license if you
better
are
have a
a
good
suspended
explanation.
driver license.
or you got to polish off your
Well, you got a
resume.
ticket for having a suspended driver license.
Well, what value, if any, do taxpayers get from
The only reason why I don't want to contest it is because he let me off with so many other things. I don't want to get him in trouble and get. I don't want to get in trouble and then get him in trouble too.
On that note, the accountability
For like giving me an easy time, like, because
No,
it's gonna make him more inclined to be a douchey cop the next time someone gets pulled over.
Tell any criminal, tell anyone that's been dealing with the police, have you ever seen a police officer not processing a warrant? Just ask around. You're the only one. Tell you that.
So in terms of any sort of accountability, I haven't heard anything yet, at least from the
Like that guy, like, he
and
was
there
just
was no
walking
indication
into the door and
in
be
any
like,
of these
I
documents that any of
guess
this
that's
money was
it.
reimbursed.
Like, you don't even know what to do or what to say.
listeners and to the viewers, we know.
I think it's because he was trying to give me the minimum that he could because there's like 5 other cops over there watching.
Yeah.
Is
I
to
know it's from the SQ because it was wearing
because you
green.
had to laugh or cry, and you have to be a happy warrior, or you're just gonna
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Well, at the end,
It's
was
because
SQ.
if you tell
So
somebody
it's someone from the SQ being like, you guys aren't handing out enough
no
tickets.
matter where they are on the political spectrum. So the next time
They're
your
supposed to be
sister-in-law is
related to
saying,
each
oh,
other.
well, we
Oh.
can't cut money anywhere,
It's
we
supposed to be
can't cut
investigation.
taxes, what do you want to cut
Like,
first,
it's
you know?
stupid, but when a
People's
police
healthcare or
department
little
under
baby's
investigation
education.
and another department
No,
under
how about we cut the ballet trips? right?
Is it supposed to be that's when the RCMP comes? Like,
Yeah.
We could maybe start there. So the reason why we get Ryan to highlight all of these awesome stories is because if you have these in your mind when it comes to government waste, it makes it a lot easier to explain why we need to reduce government spending. Now, unfortunately, Ryan, this didn't stop there. You have another government waste story for us. And again, it was one of those things, Franco, you probably had the same experience where you're halfway through reading it and you start getting so mad you have to like put it down for a sec. So this one is like international film festivals, and tickets to them are something that we're paying for. Ryan, what is this?
Well, turns out taxpayers are paying for a whole lot when it comes to international film festivals. And
yeah, but you ban all the films at them.
So basically, over a 16-month period, the federal government spent $2.7 million flying bureaucrats to these international film festivals. We're talking about the Oscars, the very famous film festival in France, one in Germany, and South by Southwest. There was one in Australia and one in Texas. And so, over a 16-month period, $2.7 million for bureaucrats to go to these events, fly out to them, and then essentially throw parties and party it up with taxpayer cash.
What kind of parties are we talking about here?
Freak off?
Well, so some of the details we were able to pull out of the records. In South by Southwest Austin, they threw something called a Canada House, was the term that they used for it. They racked up $15,000 in spending on plants, on renting plants to decorate this party room. Another $20,000 on furniture rentals. They put down $5,000 for DJ and animation services, $15,000 on a social media champion for this Canada House event. So basically, $15,000 for someone to tweet, to post it up on social media.
And just to interrupt, just for a normal person moment, nobody cares. Literally. Nobody's waiting on Twitter saying, "Oh my gosh, what is the Canada House channel going to say?" But this is such a waste of money. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
They catered.
Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Reception for a little under $12,000, and that was just one of the festivals. This happened at all of them. In Germany, there was a venue rental for a Canada pavilion that came to $74,000. In France, this was one of the stranger line items. They spent $9,930 on quote umbrella stand coordinator services. So I don't know if that's someone to run an umbrella stand and keep track of.
Like, do you have that on your business card?
But apparently it cost $10,000. They were expensing professional photographers to come and shoot these events. There was tons of money in decorations for these venues. So just on and on it goes. Basically, bureaucrats taking taxpayer cash and using it to throw parties around the globe at these prestigious film festivals.
Umbrella stand coordinator? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I've got to be lost in translation. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, Franco, again, this is a perfect example of just the crazy amount of waste. And guys, I have to stress, sorry, this is just what we're seeing. Like, this is not all of it. These are little glimpses that we're getting behind this Wizard of Oz curtain here for spending.
Okay, so I thought that I was going to be fun and funny. But like, I'm so upset. Like, I'm actually, this is driving me nuts. And so, just to reiterate a couple things. Number one, Chris is absolutely right. Like, this is just the documents we're getting our hands on.
Wow.
$2.7 million that they're blowing on these international film and music festivals, or the $721,000 that we just spoke about on tickets to circuses, ballets, sporting events, etc., etc. Like, this is just a glimpse. So if there's this amount of waste, think about all of the wasteful spending happening in the federal government, and that's how you end up with like massive spending waste and a $40 billion deficit, which we're seeing now. The second thing that I really wanted to hit home here is, man, I'm upset.
I can see it. Your face
this really is driving me nuts. And I want to address a devil's advocate, right? Because I already know somebody on the other side of this is saying, well, don't we have to support the arts? Don't we have to support the arts? Not with taxpayers' money, we don't. And here's two reasons. Number one, in this spending, the $2.7 million on these international film and music festivals, we're not talking about like the local banjo player. You know, Like my grandma, who was an
Yeah,
artist.
you're talking about like Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift that comes.
Like, we're talking about the Oscars. South by Southwest Music and Film Festival. One of the most famous film festivals in the world, the one that took place in France. So we're not talking about like the community artists or like the banjo player down the road. I'm missing Alberta, that's why I keep saying banjo. To another point, no taxpayer should be funding the arts. Okay, like no, if you are good at music,
then
creating
you
movies,
should be able to make
being an
money.
actor,
But if you suck at it, the
you
same
can
with
make
sports.
millions of dollars.
Yeah, but like if you suck at it and someone's paying your way to be participating in sports, maybe you should play sports. You should go get a job.
The government taking taxpayers' money, subsidizing artists that people aren't willing to voluntarily pay for. That is a waste of people's money. So when people say, oh, well, doesn't the government need to support the arts? No. The government should support the arts. Artists, including musicians, actors, producers, they can make millions of dollars if what they produce is good enough that people voluntarily want to spend their own money. For example, I am going to the movies tonight. I am paying with my own money to support the actors and the producers who made that movie. So I'm so sick and tired of the devil's advocate or the other side saying, well, we have to fund the arts. We have to promote the arts.
I hate that. Like, I'm playing devil's advocate. Like, so you don't even agree with the opposing side, but you're still going to fund the artists on their behalf.
$2.7 million that the government blew going to these international music and film festivals. But number two, no, the government shouldn't be forcing taxpayers to fund the so-called arts.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you said that because it starts getting into, we'll campaign to defund the CBC, for example, but there's so much more than just the money, the more than $1 billion per year that goes into the CBC. It's this stuff.
Have y'all shot a video together before?
Nope. We was in a movie together, and the video was the Trey video. I was representing for the gangsters. When you on the beach running on that video?
Was I in that video?
Yeah, you was running on the beach. That was like your debut album.
I was?
You was running on the beach.
Why the
no
fuck
clothes on? You was running on the beach with damn near no clothes on.
What the fuck? Yo, you guys show me that shit.
You not a real shaky, girl. You was like crazy, baby. Like real crazy. You don't remember that? Cause you was running on the beach, cause in the video.
Wait, I don't even remember.
There was a bunch of girls around you.
Oh yeah, okay. Now I remember. Come on, man. Yeah. Have y'all shot?
When you make a mistake with someone who's not a narcissist, what would their response be compared to someone who is a narcissist?
So you make a mistake, and it's with a healthy person or not narcissistic person, they will say, even if the mistake initially, even under the worst of circumstances, like, what are you doing? But then would quickly say, okay, let's solve the problem, or is everything okay? They would touch in. They would try to work the problem. They wouldn't go right to blame, right? That's when you make a mistake with a not narcissistic person, right? Not saying no one's going to get angry or something like that. It depends on the nature of the mistake. They would a healthy person would even figure out and meaningfully own what might have been their contribution.
When something is moved,
if anything.
When you make a mistake with someone who's
I'm exactly like you. Like, I started to think it was normal that, like, just if I, like, move something, like your phone, and I forget. It's not like fucking, it immediately is, where did you put my phone? Did you touch my phone? I can't find my phone. I don't know where I put my phone.
I look everywhere before I text you. I can find my phone.
But your initial reaction.
But you came with my phone and you say, I'm sorry, I put it in the phone. I was like, at least you found it. At least I didn't move.
And that's normal!
Like,
do you know anyone that's constantly taking really big sighs? It's likely that they are not breathing properly. Most likely because of a dysregulated nervous system.
How problematic is constantly sighing?
study published in Nature by Jankovic and colleagues answered this question in 2016. See, the lungs are not just two big balloons. They're filled with 300 million tiny air sacs called alveoli. In fact, if we spread all of these out, they cover about half of a tennis court. Now, during the course of normal breathing, some of these tiny pockets can collapse, and if we allow this to keep continuing, then the process of breathing would halt completely. That's why the lungs have sensors which can act as a fire break mechanism to reopen those blocked alveoli once every 5 minutes in the average person, who does it about 12 times an hour. In fact, it's thought that some of the early iron lung patients didn't survive because they didn't have this side integrated into their ventilation program. This reflex can also be accelerated by anxiety. It's not a sign of disease.
Do you know anyone that's constantly taking really big?
The political landscape of 2024 has been dominated by one single issue: immigration. Whether it's refugees in small Italian villages or Haitian immigrants in small towns in Ohio, it's absolutely certain that immigration has never been a bigger issue for the average person, and nobody has faced this crisis harder than Canada. Over 1 million people have entered the country in just the last 3 years, and over 50% of those people are from one place: India, and most of them resettling in the single city of Brampton, Ontario.
So because they come here and do better fucking business than us, we are deporting them?
Destroying the quality of life for Canadians and the immigrants themselves, and resulting in situations where immigrants are tens of thousands of dollars in debt, sleeping 4 to a bedroom, illegally crossing the border to the U.S. because their life in Canada is so bad, even a suicide crisis. All result in opportunistic middlemen who are exploiting a broken immigration system and preying on young Indians simply looking for a better life. The immigration crisis has also created an anti-Indian sentiment from Canadians who've seen the cost of a home double in the last few years and feel they are being left behind in favor of new immigrants. Canada's immigration system has been a disaster for everybody involved, but that doesn't mean it's over. In this video, I explain how and why this happened. I go undercover in Canada to investigate. What are the classes? Dude, the car you're sitting in right now got stolen twice. Really? There's no work at all? No. And hopefully by the time you finish this video, you'll have a more nuanced and informed take on a topic that has dominated political discourse in 2024. Subscribe to our channel for more nuance.
What?
So before we get started, I just want to throw a disclaimer out that I know immigration negatively affects Canadians as well. I see the pictures. I go on Twitter. I rent in Toronto. Even my hometown in rural Nova Scotia has seen rent skyrocket over the past few years because of this crisis. But any reactionary moron can make a video about great replacement theory, stolen jobs, and whatever other folly people improperly attribute to immigration. Immigration negatively affects Canadians in certain ways. But I never see anybody cover this topic with nuance. I never see anybody talk about the immigrants themselves or how everyone involved has seen their quality of life dramatically decrease. I'm not sure how making edgy jokes on Twitter about grouping Indians fixes anything. But hey, have fun dunking on people while the world burns. These are my boys, Dion and Armand. They reached out and offered to give me a tour of the city and translate some Punjabi for me. Also, Armand's a dope Punjabi musician, and a lot of his music's to be playing throughout this video. I just want to say thank you. This video would not have been possible without them.
Yeah, people are carrying weapons, and things are sort of, I'd say, unstable. Like, it seems everybody's on edge, right? And you just, over a small petty argument, somebody might do something really bad. It's not really worth it, so.
Like all immigrants, Indians are sold a dream of generational wealth, economic mobility, and safety. Not only are they sold this dream,
generational debt, bro.
Everyone in Canada has. Canada is objectively one of the safest, cleanest, and richest countries in the world.
No, bro.
Regardless of what the It's Over chuds will tell you. We're going to be talking about them. We'll be talking about them. Do you think that's funny? Canada has always opened its arms to immigrants, bringing in an average of 2,000 a year for the past 4 decades, giving it one of the highest consistent immigration rates in the world. And this extreme immigration policy has worked well for us, and we brain drain the world's best and brightest to fill holes in the skilled labor market, which is exactly what an immigration policy is supposed to do. Furthermore,
But we don't have the jobs for them anymore.
Canada is not a white
Like,
country.
see how fucking cars are made? They're made by machines now.
It's a pragmatic sorting algorithm.
integrating the best parts of foreign cultures and practices, and creating a country where everyone has the opportunity to prosper and nobody falls through the cracks. And it's been this way for decades. Before Zoomers, and even before those cringe millennials, if you can believe it. This is all to say that immigration in Canada objectively works. And it works very fucking well. At least it was working. Until a few years ago. This is when the permanent resident craze began in Southeast Asia. Specifically, India. Canada's immigration stayed consistent until about 2021, bringing 250,000 immigrants a year. After 2021, that number skyrockets. And Canada has brought over 1 million legal immigrants in the past 3 years, with Indians making up more than the rest of the other immigrant groups combined. Many of these Indian immigrants have the exact same backstory. Most of them came from the state of Punjab in India. Most of them are Sikhs. They came here on student visas to study with the goal of obtaining permanent residence after graduating. Most of them end up in 2 places: Surrey, British Columbia, and Brampton, Ontario. With both of those cities being around 400,000 people, and almost half of them being Indian. When I was in Brampton,
We always had white
felt
fucking
like I was
immigrants.
out of place.
Like
I was in a
Ukrainians.
different country, even though I was only a 40-minute train ride north of Toronto. About the same distance between Los Angeles and Anaheim, or downtown Manhattan and JFK Airport. I popped into a Tim Hortons at Sheridan Plaza to use the bathroom, and I could tell people would not stop staring at me, wondering what I was doing there. Seriously, I felt less out of place in Cuba or in Athens than I did in Brampton.
C'est impossible de vivre douleur, si on met toujours nos organes sous tension. Il y a plusieurs personnes.
Festival. But we'll get to that later. There's been so much noise on the immigration crisis from the left and the right. Ignorance always comes from lack of information. Yet the news tends to sensationalize without providing context. And many people's media diets just ends up keeping That's why what ground news does is so important. Ground news is an ad website that gathers stories from it allows you to examine the media bias and show you that barely any things or generations happening around the world with other features. Just go to Google Street View and you can find advertisements just like this one all over the streets, offering immigration consulting and express student visas to countries like the UK, New Zealand, Australia, and Canada. Punjabis are also bombarded with online advertisements like this one, offering the same service. Families often save for years to teach their children English and cover the tuition costs of studying in Canada. Immigration consultants charge no fees to help get their paperwork in order, or they're directed to websites like Uni's portal, software that connects potential students to courses, consultants, and universities. For a fee, of course. Once the paperwork is in order, students may apply to colleges and universities all over Canada with the goal of obtaining a student visa, which legally allows them to live in the country. Canada is home to many prestigious universities.
Even with my advanced math,
Elon Musk study, U of T, where Jordan
there was still no way I was getting into college.
Home of the MK Ultra studies.
The only kids, the only English kids or English white kids that they give college or they accept them to is the ones that are in the faculty or in the school boards.
Access College. What? College, which are all located in strip malls in Brampton. These colleges are what are known as diploma mills. 2 colleges in this one.
Wow.
And this real estate college is connected to immigration consulting. Diploma mills like these are institutions that want your tuition
fucking serious?
by any means necessary. This often means eliminating as much overhead as possible. Often only having one single employee.
That's why we're having a housing crisis.
It saves students with more obscure and suboptimal choices like College of Health Studies, Access College, or Flair Management College, which are all located in strip malls in Brampton. These colleges are what are known as diploma mills. 2 colleges in this one building, and this real estate college is connected to immigration consulting. Diploma mills like these are
And you wonder why there's a housing crisis.
By any means necessary. This often means eliminating as much overhead as possible. Often only having one single employee that doubles as the teacher and the secretary, and operating over tiny office spaces and strip malls for cheap rent. Like this one, which I wandered into to ask questions, expecting to find a front desk, when all I found was a single room with 8 chairs. This is a legal college in Canada that will give you a degree. The degrees they offer are licensed from public institutions and are actually legitimate. But they are often unrecognized by potential employers because the quality of education is so bad, leaving many Indian international students with useless credentials and thousands of dollars in debt. Combat degree mills, the government has changed the rules on which degrees can qualify for permanent residence, and now it can only be obtained after a degree from public institution. No longer a private
Another one?
Yeah, well, you just take all the English down.
For the sole purpose of getting a student visa.
Before I missed
This rule affected 80 colleges in Brampton alone. Brampton is a city of 400,000 people with 80 diploma mill colleges. These colleges now only exist for students to drop out, often charging them a $500 refund fee before they move on to a public institution. I walked into Flair College, hoping to get some new students. And all I found was empty classrooms, as the students had dropped out before classes had even started. But I haven't even gotten to the craziest part of this entire situation yet. There are individuals with complete vertical monopolies on the whole process. Student software units level and flare management are owned by the same individual, who is also an immigration consultant. This person operates at every step of the immigration process for Indians. When you're over in India, you are sold the idea. I'm not from India. I don't really know word for word. They're sold the idea of moving here by somebody like a broker. So they give them an idea of what Canada's going to look like. But when a lot of people get here, it's a struggle. Yeah. Right? Back in India, they wouldn't have to work as much to support their living. But when they get here, it's 40 hours a week, 44 hours a week. Right? And a lot of them get underpaid.
That's normally 40 hours a week.
Is it
if you're from somewhere in India, you're most likely going to get a job.
Like, and that's what they call slave labor. Like,
but because they feel like they're giving you
37.5 hours when I missed a day.
The people in this business
Missed a day.
First-generation immigrant.
You were fucking. What the fuck?
Immigrants who have been in Canada for years explain to students who are in the exact same position they were, a classic case of immigrants pulling up the ladder behind them. On online forums and on the ground in Brampton, this sentiment is everywhere. With older immigrants claiming that the new immigrants are less behaved, less respectful, and less educated than their generations were. But they may have a point. Because there is so much money to be made off international students, there is no incentive to keep them from coming into the country. Take Algoma University, a Canadian university with a satellite campus in downtown Brampton. Algoma is a public university whose admission rate has increased 900% in the last 3 years, with 92% of its student body being Indian. After an audit, it was found that 8 to 10% of the applications didn't pass English language requirements to study in Canada, but they were put through anyway. Of Algoma's 5,000 students, that's 500 people who don't know English well enough to study in the country. Let alone where Algoma is also staffed by temporary part-time teachers who have no business teaching at university level curriculum. Again, because the sole goal here is to eliminate as much overhead as possible. Algoma University doesn't even have dorms for their students to stay. Immigration is so lucrative for these institutions that Algoma's cash holdings have increased from under $6 million in 2016 to almost $230 million in 2023. Why would you add anybody to study at your university when you're being filthy fucking rich and immigrants are paying an average of $26,000 a year in tuition fees? On December 1st, 2023, the Canadian government passed a law requiring all foreign student applicants to go through the government before they get approved in hopes to stop the shady practice of letting students through who have no business studying in Canada. But the sad part here is what happens after these students get admitted. Algoma University has a pass rate of 55%. 45% of the student body, which is almost entirely Indian, fail the program, making it one of the lowest pass rates in Canada, and a number that's sure to skyrocket as students make their way from private diploma mill colleges with way lower admission standards into public ones. The low pass rate has created ongoing protests all over campuses in Brampton. Students who feel like being cheated out of an education simply because they're international students. Now, it's totally unjustified to protest in a country that you're not from.
Maybe we join or forfeit. I was beating the guy, and now my team, I couldn't do a turn. And he's like, oh, you calculating the game. Put all the damage to me, up to him.
And then tossed aside once they had served their purpose. Immigration is a tumultuous